Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am here with my guys, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. Bosco, from the Bronx, as well as my guy, Mr. Mike Zappi, out in San Antonio, Texas. On tonight's show, we are going to be hitting on the first part of the NFL Week 3 previews and predictions. Got some good games this weekend, boys. We got a couple of teams that are going to be squaring off that are still undefeated. A couple of rather surprising ones in the form of the Minnesota Vikings as well as the New Orleans Saints. Got a very familiar rivalry starting the week up between the Patriots and the Jets. And we're going to talk about it all. We're going to break it down. Part 1. We will be right back in just a moment. Enjoy this intro. Awkward pause. All right. Enjoy this intro. All right, we are back. Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. We are starting it up Thursday night football. The New England Patriots heading to East Rutherford, New Jersey to take on the New York Jets. These guys sport the same 500 record in the early going at 1-1. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers got his first complete start win as a Jets quarterback. He did get credited for the victory, albeit only playing 5 plays in last year's season opener. New England Patriots have been 4 plays. The New England Patriots have been one of the more surprising teams here in the early going. They're playing good defense. They're running the ball at a decent efficiency. They're not turning the ball over all that much. They're playing competitive football. And it's been a bit of a surprise in the early going. They got a victory over the Bengals. They went to overtime in Seattle, or rather versus Seattle, as I said they would. They did get beat. When you replace a legendary coach with a player who was probably Hall of Fame bound had he not retired, I think the expectations for many a reason, just roster management, and draft failures in previous years was not that high. But, this is going to be a tight game in my eyes. New York Jets still very much so trying to find their offense. But I do believe that you might see a little more of a 2-man workload in that backfield with the emergence of Braylon Allen in week 2. I still believe that the Jets – Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson are still trying to get the kinks out in Nathaniel Hackett's offense. And, until Mike Williams gets elevated, when he starts feeling better, or until the Jets make a move, Allen Lazard and Rodgers still have that bond from the Green Bay days, and that's still a go-to look for him, a la another former teammate, Randall Cobb. Mr. Salam, what are your thoughts on this particular game? I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. And, Patriots, they have won quite a few of these over the course of the last decade.
Yeah, I think it'll be a defensive game. I think the Jets will pull it. I think the Jets will pull away in the fourth, maybe late third quarter. Like I said last week, Aaron Rodgers was basically still getting his feet wet, But I think him and Lazard, they'll pick it up. Brees Holmes. I want to call him Priest Holmes, but Priest Holmes, I think he'll do what he does. I just don't think New England has enough on offense. Brissett's holding it down. Stevenson's running the ball real well. But you're going against the Jets defense, man. They can get at you. And I don't know if Brissett has enough mobility to get away from that defense because they're coming. But I'm gonna give the Jets a 10-point spread on this. Maybe I think Rodgers finds his feet, his footing finally. His arm is ready. I think they'll go 24. I'm gonna go 24-14 Jets. But New England's not gonna look like they're not gonna be pushed around. They're gonna fight because of their coach. But I'm gonna go 24-14 Jets.
All right, Mr. Zappy.
There's a couple of things I'm looking at with this game. Aaron Rodgers, this will be his 18th Thursday game, whether it was Thanksgiving, Thursday Night Football. He does have an 11-6 record in that time. He's had some great games on Thursday football. Going back to San Francisco, you take it back to the Thanksgiving game, the Hail Mary, Rodgers to Rodgers on Thanksgiving in 2015. So there's, but the one matchup I'm looking for tomorrow is Christian Gonzalez against Garrett Wilson. Christian Gonzalez has been proven to be the best cornerback drafted out of last year's draft. And when I look at a guy like Garrett Wilson, he still is trying to get his feet wet. We've seen Aaron Rodgers and him have some, had some good moments, but we've also seen him have some bad moments. The timing's still not there. And now you insert a great cornerback like Christian, as well as, Jared Mayo is proving that he's pretty damn good coach so far. I'm looking at this game that I think it's going to be another one of those Thursday night sleepers type of games. I do think the Jets will come out on top, but I'm not looking for many points to be scored in this game. I'm looking at this as more of a 16-9, 16-10 type game where the Jets come out on top. I just think Jared Mayo will have this team ready. The Jets still not having Hassan Reddick back there is something that they haven't really been able to get the pressure they need. The emergence of Braylon Allen last week is helping out, off some of the heat on Breece Hall, but they need to find another receiver. Alan Lazard showed great signs last week, but as of right now, I just don't see much of that offense that tells me they're going to be able to put over 20 points on the board.
Yeah. It's funny that the score that you cooked up is almost identical to what I'm seeing. I got the Jets winning this thing 20-10. 20-10. I think New England will be good for one score. Another interesting matchup on the opposite side of that same position value is the best corner in all of football, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, going at it with the rookie Jalen Polk. But no, the Gonzalez matchup against Wilson does have more value because New England needs him to be able to truly contain Wilson if they're going to have a shot. I think that I said it, the Jets are going to run a lot more two-back sets. I think Braylon Allen is just getting warmed up. He's going to – it's in part due to the whole injury last year. I mean, he ran the ball well in San Francisco game 1. But the point is you want to keep him fresh, and it's important and imperative to have the two backs both working. And the other part of this too, you make a good point. Hassan Reddick, it's just a weird dynamic, all of it. He gets traded. He wants his new employer to pay him what he thinks his market value is worth. But I'm like, you're a rental, pal. They're not going to do that. It would be very interesting to see if Hassan Reddick gets traded before actually ever playing in a Jet uniform, because I do think there is a distinct possibility that could happen. Jets are not a complete team, and I will say this. Anything short of a second-round appearance at minimum, if not even, it's the Jets. How could you have higher expectations than that? But I do think Robert Saleh needs to at least get that one playoff win to get the New York media off his back. I think the guy across the hallway is doing him some favors to kind of be the bigger warrior, the hotter seat, so to speak, talking about Daves. But Jets by 10. Patriots are doing good things. They're a little better than I forecasted. I give them credit, but the Jets are a better team. Jets are a deeper team. Jets are going to win the game.
And it's crazy. You mentioned Hassan Reddick, and right now, I think both the Jets and Eagles are looking back at that trade and saying we both messed up on this one because the combination of Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith, and Josh Sweat over in Philly have not gotten one sack. And then you see what the Jets are doing without them. It's one of those that if they could go back and take this trade, I think both teams would agree with it because I think Hassan Reddick would help Philly out, and I think Bryce Huff's familiarity with that defense in New York would help them out. It's just funny how that worked out for both teams.
Is there a possibility that they both get traded back for each other? That would be something freaking hilarious. We got the
pay that money though.
We got the Philadelphia Eagles going to the Big Easy to take on the surprisingly undefeated New Orleans Saints. This is a team that I had as a 5-win team coming in. The surprise Saints have been the story through the first 2 weeks as their offense has been high octane. First time we could say that about them since they had the legendary Drew Brees. Their defense has yet to give up 20 points in a game. On the flip, Saquon Barkley, awesome game, screwed me out of a fantasy win. All he had to do was catch the ball and walk into the end zone or just walk to the yard marker. I would have been fine. That ultimately led to a field goal from Jake Elliott that led to, I don't know, truly do not know what the hell Philly was playing schematically on that final drive where they allowed Kirk Cousins to go basically, 74 yards?
Something like that, close to it.
Close to that, right?
It's been their motto. It's been their motto dating back to last year. In the final 2 minutes of football games with a small lead, they have shown they cannot hold it. That their pass defense is very vulnerable, and it showed once again. They went on and drafted a Queion Mitchell to try to help alleviate that, and it hasn't helped. So it's bringing up one of those issues where, I mean, we saw Nick Sirianni. And everyone looks at that pass play, but really you go back to that play on third down where they try to draw. All the left tackle or left guard had to do when Judon jumped over the line was get up, and the game is over.
That's
but
it.
Instead they stayed down. It forced their hand. And why you don't run the ball with the guy you paid $46 million to when it's all said and done? Why you don't give him the ball and allow that clock to go down to 40 seconds? You're still going to have a 6-point lead, but now the Falcons have everything against them. That was insane, and that's just one of those steps that I think is going to happen with this team, because I do still stand by this. I think this Philadelphia Eagle team is going to implode, which will lead to the firing of Nick Sirianni mid-season.
Yep, I agree, because when Saquon dropped the ball to stop the clock, Atlanta had 0 timeouts. You already had to give it to Saquon, even if he does his little jukey juke, you kill him the clock, and he may get that first down. And if you don't get on first down, give it to him. I mean, you don't get the first down, second down, give it to him a second time. He's going to get it. He's going to get it in one of those carries.
I would like to say this too about that drop. He leads all NFL running backs since the year 2021 in drops. I'm talking about the prolific one, number 26, fully guaranteed contract, McCaffrey money, but no McCaffrey hands, Butterfinger Barkley. Yeah. There was a part of me after being frustrated with my fantasy squad getting robbed of an early 2-0 start. But you know what? I said, if I'm going to lose in fantasy, don't let my guys lose for no reason at all. Yeah. And I will always take a Philly loss over a fantasy victory. And Philly, quite frankly,
like Aaron told me last year,
like, this is a dude that has a terrible freaking
Philly
record
is fool's gold, man.
Time.
Philly is fool's gold. But get back to going against New Orleans. We see what New Orleans can do, and I still feel Dallas's defense is better than Philly's. I feel
we needed that slap in the face. Dallas needed that.
Yeah, but I still think Dallas's defense is better than what showed up last week against New Orleans, and I think they're better than Philly's defense. And I just don't think they're gonna. If Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, and crew play like they played last week at home, we might see another blowout.
Kamara's having a little bit of a career renaissance too,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
And there's another interesting point about this game. Derek Carr, he is on the verge of joining a very, very small group of individuals with being, I think, the 5th or 6th quarterback to pass for 2 touchdowns and also have a passer rating of over 106 consecutive games, going for game number 7. He'd be joining the likes of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, and I know there's one more quarterback, cannot remember who it was. And then you look at the fact that the Eagles have the 30th ranked pass defense right now, while the New Orleans Saints have one of the top passing offenses. And not only do they have one of the top passing offenses, they can get the ball down the field. We saw that when Derek Carr connected with Shaheed for an 80-yard bomb. Yeah. We've seen him 2 weeks in a row connect for over 50-yard connections. This is one of those games that, I mean, New Orleans consecutive 40-point games, we might see them score a third game of 40 or more points, because this Clint Kubiak really has that offense clicking.
But you know who his father is. So you know who his father is.
Oh yeah, Gary
was a good innovative mind. I think the thing that really has me shocked with New Orleans' success offensively is that I had such a low expectation of them in terms of keeping Carr upright, given the transition and the injuries and things of that nature with their offensive line coming in. So the start, I wasn't surprised that they totally bombed on the Panthers. A lot of people are going to do that. I thought they were fool's gold. But then when I see them, induce some poor decisions from Dak Prescott, as Zappy said, slap the Cowboys in the face on their home opener, and anything can happen this early in the year. I don't think it's indicative of how the story ends.
No.
But the New Orleans Saints, as far as I'm concerned, are about to be 3-0.
I think so too. I'm going with another 40-point show. I think I'm going to go 41. I don't even think I'm going to give him 28. I'd say 41, 20, 41, 21. I know that's a big spread, but I just don't see that defense stopping what I saw the past 2. I mean, I'm going to take out the Carolina game, but Dallas, it's early, but Dallas can go at you. They can get you. And I know Philly's defense is not like Dallas. Dallas's bad day, I think that's an average day for Philly. So I think they're going to rip Philly.
I got them.
They might do worse.
And the one thing about Philly, though, I will say this, is while their scores are actually not indicative of how their games have gone, because we have seen them in the last 2 games come up with a lot of goal line stops. And I will say this, if New Orleans is in that position, I trust New Orleans' offense more right now than I do Dallas's, or that I do Carolina's, or that I do Green Bay's to get those scores. Because we saw Green Bay go up to a 6-0 lead when they could have easily been up 14-0. But for some reason, Matt LaFleur said, let's just keep giving it to Josh Jacobs up the middle, even though Jalen Carter and Davis were stopping him. And then the same thing this past week with Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. They kept giving Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier the ball up the middle, and they were stopping it. The Saints are more of a sideline-to-sideline team where they're going to give Kamara the ball on the outside, and he's going to use his speed to outrun these guys.
Yep.
No, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Taysom Hill sighting for a particular player, too, in this game that could have some value.
Let me ask you about Taysom Hill. God, I mean, the guy does everything. Do you think he'll be one of those players that get in the Hall of Fame eventually?
No, because
it's a long shot. Yeah.
I would say Cordell Stewart was more impressive than his, and Cordell is never going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm with Zap on that.
That is that,
yeah. Derek Carr, Brett, you're about 2 years late on this, but you are improving.
Yep.
I mean, when you see him and Shaheed throwing that rock over the middle, just missile time, piss missile, over the top of the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder, where's the loyalty? Does he have new posters? Are there new Maxim girls on the wall? I mean, these dudes are really living it up as bros. They're living together. They're rooming together.
Yeah, he's got a new roommate. That's what it is.
Hey,
Devontae Adams is probably like, shit, I want to
that's
play
what
with
I was
Gar
gonna
again.
say.
Shout
He
out
might be
Brett.
like, well, I guess I'll go to New York and play with Aaron.
Shout out
Um,
for Brett. Play the role of Nostradamus just about 2 years too late, but we'll give him that one.
But no, on this game, I'm taking the Saints as well. I think they're going to come out with a 10-point victory. I don't think they'll quite reach the 40 plateau, but I do see them winning this game in a score of 34-24. Close. It will be the Saints jumping out early with the Eagles trying to close the gap late, but it just won't be enough time for them to do it.
Little lower score on my end, 30-24 in favor of the Saints. Reason I have it a little lower scoring, I actually think Philadelphia is going to control the time of possession in this thing, but I think there's going to be some critical turnovers by one Jalen Hurts that are going to turn this game over into the hands of the Saints.
You think 26 to drop one on the ground?
No, I actually think 26 is going to have a very good game, but he's going to look up at the scoreboard and say, damn, 1 and 2. I came here to not only get paid a lot more money, but,
He's going to have to have a good game.
He's going to have to.
AJ Brown is out this week.
Yeah, he's going to have to.
So he's going to have to carry that load. This Saints defense has proved to have been very good against the run. Can Devontae Smith carry that load in the pass game as well? And then Marshawn Lattimore, obviously the Saints didn't miss him last week, but if he doesn't play, will the Eagles offense be able to exploit that? And can Vic Fangio, you brought him in for this reason, can you finally show you can slow down an offense?
Did you see my hyper troll on NFC Beast? Vic Fangio, my closing thought. The prevent defense prevents you from winning.
Yeah. You know something? I know long shot, but what if the Giants beat Cleveland and Philly loses? Both teams are 1 and 2.
Well, what if the Giants actually had had 53 men and one of them was a healthy kicker? We'd be tied. We'd be tied for greatness right now.
Have a 4-way. Hey, what's crazy though? After this weekend, it's very possible that we have 2 undefeated teams in the NFC South and another one that's 2-1. The 2-1 one has got a tall task facing Kansas City, but it's just, if you would have told me that before the season started that both the Buccaneers and Saints would be 3-0 after week 3, I would have laughed. I would have said, "You're absolutely
good too."
We had good research-based stuff to say why the Saints were not going to be good. But so far, so good. They're proving us all wrong here. And from one disappointment to a bigger disappointment, the New York Football Giants at 0-2 taking on the Cleveland Browns at 1-1 in the dog pound. The Browns defense was dominant in Duval as they square up their regular season record. The Giants' loss came down to a lot of coaching ineptitude as they didn't dress a healthy kicker last week. Graham Gano was hurt going into this and was knocked out of the game, chasing down a kick returner on the very first play of the game, a touchdown that was called back. Key matchups in this game, in my opinion, will be the Giants' leaky run defense against the Browns' rushing attack. I imagine you got Ford in there. You're going to have a little Foreman in there. I get it. No Nick Chubb. But the Giants have literally been blown off the ball with the exception of Dexter Lawrence. And when he gets a blow and when he has to take those plays off, the middle of the Giants defense has been incredibly exploited, and neither Kayvon Thibodeau nor Brian Burns have been able to generate any kind of consistency. I saw them take chances on getting to Jaden Daniels last week. And the McFadden play where he literally hit, it looked like one of those Madden plays where you bump off the guy, Tackling was piss poor. I have no clue why we're lining up 6 yards away from the receivers. It looks like the same old bullshit that we saw last year. And I got news for you. There were a couple of warts last year that came out with Brian Dable. And I said, okay, second year slump. I get it. But this is the second time in as many years that he has mishandled Graham Gano's health. It cost us the Jet game last year. It cost us a game last week. I'm not going to pin this on the rookie Malik Neighbors. And, I want to call out my own fans quickly here. I understand Daniel Jones has got to be replaced. And I understand that he was atrocious in week 1. But week 2, he made enough plays to win a football game.
Mm-hmm.
Your defense gave up 415 yards, and you set an NFL dubious-ass record for being the only team in the history of the league to score 3 touchdowns, not give up a touchdown, and still get beat.
And still lose. What is that?
You can't make this shit up. This is the shit of tragedy.
Where does that happen at? Only in New York.
What's up, John?
So I'll say this about this game. This game, you guys are going to laugh because I'm going to say this. This game has the feels of an upset. I know.
Yeah, Richie's going to be upset.
Right, yeah, there you go. No, this Cleveland defense has been pretty stellar.
They've been pretty
good. And even against Dallas, they played a hell of a good game. One of their vulnerabilities, though, is their pass offense, their protection on the line. This is the game where the Giants' pass rush needs to get off. They need Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. Brian, you just got paid $150 million. You need to come out and show that contract. This is the week to do it. I look at this being a low-scoring game as well. The Browns' offense, they're in a flux right now. They can't get the ball to Amari Cooper. They can't run it. Yeah, they had a much better run game last week between Ford and Deontay Foreman. They're a couple weeks away from getting Nick Chubb back. But again, Deshaun Watson does not look like the guy that wants to be the quarterback of that team. I see so many negatives for both teams. Look, if Daniel Jones comes out and has himself a decent game this week, the Giants will have a chance. I'm looking this being a low-scoring game. I think the Giants will have a fighting chance to win this game. I'm going to give the Browns the victory 17-13, but I think DJ will have the ball last with an opportunity to lead his team down the field to win it.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance because I don't trust the Browns right now. The Giants, they have nothing to lose, and they're going to start getting to that point where those Giants will be even more dangerous. Not to mention they have a nice date next Thursday night, and I don't think they're looking ahead to Thursday night against Dallas. I think they're going to come out and motivated.
I try to emphasize the positives, and the only two that I can say without really thinking too hard about it is that their offensive line has immensely improved, because if you go to week 1, Daniel Jones caused 3 of his 5 sacks. Only got sacked once last week, and I get it. Washington's not a high-caliber defense right now. They will be in time. But the point is that your offensive line has given your quarterback enough time to have a chance of making plays. When I think about what Cleveland has done, bouncing back from that Dallas smackdown, their defense is going to present too many problems for Daniel Jones. I expect a lot of balls in the dirt. I expect a lot of 3-and-outs, and I expect a lot of field goal attempts as opposed to touchdown drives. I've got the Browns winning this thing 16-9, 3 field goals for Joseph, the newly acquired New York Giant, who his last link against us was actually the Christmas Eve game in 22, where the Vikings beat us in OT, or late in the game, I should say.
Yeah.
And we returned the favor in the playoffs. Mr. Nass had a question for us. I want to make sure I get this up. He has 2 comments. Where has Kayvon Thibodeau been? Where's your Brian Burns? Zappy beat me to it. Yeah, quite frankly, week 1, if you want to go back there, Christian Darrisaw dominated Kayvon Thibodeau. From the eye test, I feel that Kayvon is relying too much on his strength and not enough of his athleticism, where I feel that he has to develop a nicer move to help him. Brian Burns, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's not digging the scheme. I am not sure what the deal with Brian Burns is, because I've seen him perform at a high level with less around him, so that is confusing me a little.
I told you I was not a big fan of his because only once in his career has he had double-digit sacks. Hey, to answer your question, John, while you're busy asking about two guys on a team that is clearly in rebuild mode, where's Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, and Nolan Smith? Where's your first round steal at pick 29 from a couple years ago? Where's Jordan Davis? Where are all these players that the Eagles have drafted from the University of Georgia, where it was the Philadelphia Bulldogs?
Georgia.
I love you, John. Just give you some crap. But no, I think it's a lot to do with Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, in my opinion, are two of the same players where they're going to be good against the run. They're not going to get you 14, 15 sacks. I look at them both as being 8 to 10 sack guys. Dexter Lawrence, to me, is, he's the guy that's going to get a lot of pressures playing the A-gap, whether he's playing the 1 technique, 3 technique, whatever the case may be. But they need more. And when you're very vulnerable in the secondary, which you only have Banks back there, who's only in his second year, but at safety, you let your star safety go to Green Bay this past offseason.
We actually have Banks opposite of Jackson. We just need Yayo now.
We need
yeah. So, but whenever you have and Jackson, I think he was more of I don't want to use the term has been, but he's a shell of himself. He's not who he was a couple years ago.
I mean, it is kind of dope. The G-men. G-men, Jackson Banks.
But I think that's a lot to do. And not to mention, Mike Kafka is not there anymore. You've got a new defensive scheme. There's a lot of things that go into this when you talk about the Giants. But in my opinion, the Giants are clearly in rebuild. And will they be drafting a quarterback next year? Will they be drafting a receiver again? Will they, there's so many ways.
Will they force a punt this week? There's a lot of
there's a lot of it.
As the world turns Idris, we're not going to win this game, are we?
18-16 Giants in the upset. That's all.
For crying out loud!
That's kind of where I see it. Is I have this funny feeling it's going to be 18-17 kind of win. I don't know why I have this feeling that the Giants are going to come out on top.
You think Dable just wasn't really like?
I'm going to tell you why I think they're going to win. Because week 1, we stunk it up. Maybe Minnesota's better than we thought.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a moment.
But last week, we should have won.
Yes.
We should have won. And, I mean, this is Jaden Daniels' first season, I admit. But based on how he's played compared to Deshaun Watson, he's played much better than Deshaun Watson has played. Cleveland's running game is coming around, but there's no Nick Chubb back there. We have a problem stopping the run, true. But Jaden Daniels killed us in the air and with his feet. I don't see Deshaun Watson doing the same thing. And I think that's where we're going to win it. Now, we got to keep Daniel Jones up. We can keep him on his feet. I think we got a chance to win.
It wouldn't blow my mind if the Giants.
Devin Singletary gets 100 yards for the first
because
time.
They are that annoying that they would win a game like that. And then later in the year, we're picking third instead of first or something like that. And that Germany game is actually going to be, that could, God almighty, that really could matter. The game in Germany.
I want to answer that question about quarterback. It's too soon to talk about Arch Manning.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Because you're talking 2 seasons from now.
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, you don't. You're for an NFL franchise, you don't sit there and say we're going to give up the next 2 seasons to go get the nephew of a guy that brought us 2 Super Bowls.
And to be respectful,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's
the
what
last time Eli had somebody use him for a job reference, we got this clown that we got now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's 2 seasons away from Arch Manning.
Possible.
Yeah.
Possibly. That's the other thing. While most players do come out early, remember who Arch Manning is. Remember what family tree he comes from. Mm-hmm. I think it's a bigger possibility that Arch is going to play for UT till his senior year because, as crazy as it sounds, Arch Manning is now tied with Quinn Ewers for the Heisman frontrunner in college football.
Pretty wild.
There's a reason why me and my son are going to the game this weekend to go watch Arch Manning. But you don't sit there, whether it's the Panthers, the Titans, the Giants, the Raiders, whoever, you don't sit there and tank for 2 consecutive seasons.
That's what I'm saying.
For a certain player. You just don't do it.
That's
now, I think honestly, I think the Giants are going to be better suited if they're in position to draft the Travis Hunter, I think they draft the Travis Hunter next year, possibly a quarterback later. And then if now you go after Quinn Ewers, because clearly Quinn Ewers is the favorite for next year's draft.
I'll take Quinn Ewers too.
But to sit there and say, hey, Arch Manning in 2026, I mean, that's assuming he comes out, because again, he's coming from the Manning tree, and these guys have their head on right. And education is very important as well, because they all know that you're one hit away from it all going away. So there's no guarantee.
Inquiring Minds wants to know. We didn't do it in week 1. We certainly didn't do it in week 2. In week 3, third time being the good old charm, will the New York Giants dress the right amount of players? I know.
You need specialty play. Hey, ESPN just answered the question for you. They said no.
Well, you know what? Will we dress the right amount of players to win? That's the question.
I don't know. I guess he just wasn't really a fan of Harry Carson. He just doesn't like 53. Okay, moving along. Houston Texans at 2-0, taking on the Minnesota Vikings at 2-0. Short, sweet, and simple. The Minnesota Vikings, to Zappy's point, I'm going to give him praise here, are a lot better than we realized coming in. At least Idris and I and some of the other dudes on our panel. Aaron Jones, very good upgrade over what they've had the last couple of years in that backfield. Sam Darnold, top 5 pick a few years ago, never has played with the talent offensively that he has there now. Their offensive line is playing well. I think the real nice surprise is that their defense is playing well. O'Connell's a good coach. Say what you want. That dude is a good coach. And I do believe that this team is playing inspired ball for a litany of reasons. But one of the bigger ones, as I alluded to on a recent show, the death of Kyrie Jackson, tragically, before the year started, I think on a lot of metrics has galvanized this team. And they're not a fluke. They are a good football team. But having said that, I like the Texans here. I think it's going to be close. But I think you're going to see some of the warts come out on Sam Darnold in this particular game. I expect a decent game from Justin Jefferson, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think you're going to see some points, though. I got the Texans winning this thing. I'm going to go 30-23. I actually think that this game's going to get opened up a little, and you're going to see some fun with some big-name receivers.
I'm going the other way around. I'm going to go 30-24 Vikings. Diggs going back to Minnesota.
That's another good part of the story, yes.
And then he's going to hear it because they didn't like him up there because he was such a cancer like he was in Buffalo. Justin Jefferson is their man. I think Sam Darnold has a team around him that he needs. He has an offense that works in his favor. You're playing inside. You're playing at Minnesota. They're going to get at C.J. Stroud, man. I think Stroud have a good game. But I'm going 30-24 Minnesota.
It's not just Diggs. It's also Danielle Hunter going back to Minnesota.
Yeah,
that's right.
You're right.
I'm with you, Idris. Richie, I have the Vikings scoring 23 points as well. But look, Houston, they could easily be 0-2.
They could be.
They should have beat Chicago by a lot more last week and didn't. Yeah. Houston still has not convinced me the way Minnesota's convincing me. Before the season started, I said Sam Darnold is going to play comfortable because he has no one looking over his back, over his shoulder. And he has been playing some phenomenal football. When you have the likes of a Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison looks like he's going to be playing this week. TJ Hawkinson is that much closer to being back. Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler in the backfield have looked really well together. That offensive line has been looking very well together. Kevin O'Connell needs a lot more credit because he's a damn good coach. He has been coaching this team very well. Coach. Yes. And honestly, I look at this Minnesota team who did they just beat last week? Some team that's been to the NFC title game for the last 5 years.
For a second consecutive year, they've beaten that team.
They've beaten them. I'd look at this team to come out and get ready to fight. Minnesota looks like a team that's ready week in and week out, and I don't think they're going to let off this week. I look at this being as a yet again Viking victory at home, 23-17. Same score as last week game against the 49ers. They have a team, and they're playing for Sam Darnold. That's the important thing. As we've seen with Baker Mayfield, We're seeing it with Sam Darnold. When you're in the right situation, not in a crappy situation like the Jets or Panthers or the Browns, things tend to work in your favor. I think.
So
Sam
you're
Darnold's
saying Bryce Young comes to New York and everything's going to be okay?
No, I think I think Bryce Young goes to the Rams. Well, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But you know what?
I mean, last time we saw a guy that burned out in Carolina, it was Kerry Collins. He did rather well for us.
And you know something? And people will say how, well, the Niners, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey don't play defense.
No.
And that Minnesota offense did a number on that defense.
And Houston's Houston's defense is nowhere near on the same level as that of the 49ers. Let's get that straight first of all. Now, Houston's got a good defense, but they're not on that level whatsoever. No, not at all. I'm looking at Minnesota to come out on top. I'm looking at Minnesota to continue to make a statement and be 3-0 after this game. I think they win 23-17.
I meant 30-20, not 30-24, 30-20. Minnesota.
All right. The former Titan, the new Packer, Malik Willis leads the Green Bay Packers into Tennessee. Tennessee Titans could easily be 2-0. Instead, they're 0-2. This is his second start. Last week, he played well enough to get the victory. Packers defense cleaned up a few things after week 1 against the Eagles. They played a very good game, and they needed to because of the quarterback switch. You can't really open up the full playbook when you get a new quarterback in there. I expect Green Bay's defense to continue to play at a high level. I view them as one of the better units in this league. If you stop Tajay and Pollard, and I don't think that they are an excellent 1-2 punch to begin with, Will Levis will make enough mistakes for the Packers to take care of biz. I think Malik Willis is going to have a little added motivation because this is the team that kind of gave up on him rather quickly, even though he was a long shot to begin with. I got the Green Bay Packers winning this thing 24-17, 24-17, a 7-point Packer victory. And, Jordan Love will be back sooner than later. The Packers are going to hold the fort down, as they would say, while he heals.
I'm going the same thing, 24-17 Green Bay. I think Malik Willis is going to go in there with a chip on his shoulder. Like, you guys gave up on me. You didn't give me a chance. I'm going here and show. And I think Will Levis, like you said, their 1-2 punch for Pollard, and it's not enough power back there to run up against that Green Bay defense. Like you said, if you put the ball in Will Levis' hands, I think he'll make enough mistakes to where Green Bay says, "Oh, okay, we got the ball. It's 24-17. Yeah, I'm gonna go 27-17 Green Bay. I think Malik Willis. Yeah,
wow.
I'm gonna go 27-17. I think they opened the playbook a little bit more for him. He had a chance to really get a good week of practice and actually learn. So I think they'll go run heavy though. I think they will run heavy.
I'm right there with John. I look at this game as it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I have 17-13 as well. If Jordan Love plays, Matt LaFleur did say before the week that Jordan Love needed to practice this week in order to have a chance at playing.
Did you say brother? Did you say brother Love? Because he's got some legal issues.
My name's not. My name's not Jordan Love. My name's not P. Diddy. Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you said brother Love. My apologies.
But
Shouts out Bruce Pritchard.
Look, I look at this being another low-scoring game. Malik Willis. Look, yeah, he might have some sort of motivation to play. He said today this game brings no motivation to him because he's very grateful that the Titans were the team that drafted him.
Right.
A lot of people didn't think he was going to get drafted. I think he's going to play motivated. But Tennessee's defense is actually not bad, and Tennessee is not 0-2 because of their defense. They're 0-2 because Will Levis making those stupid plays at the end of the game. 17-13. I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game. But if Jordan Love plays, I see it more of a 24-13 type game.
Yeah. And week 1 in fantasy in our beloved Pops Cheddar in the Sun League, it wasn't a big deal when week 1 I played the guy who eliminated me in the championship and started his dynasty while preventing me from going back to back. I told those that asked, I said, it's just another week.
You know what?
It's just another week.
Will Levis came out of college. I saw Will Levis when he came out of college the same way I seen Drew Lock when he came out of college. Say he's overrated. And he's not as good as people say he is. Because I always say that offense that he ran, like the offense they run in West Virginia, where Geno Smith came from, those type of quarterbacks don't translate well in the NFL.
Geno's actually overachieved after
10 years of
after the broken jaw situation.
It only took him 10 years, but yeah.
Again, he's in a good situation finally.
Exactly.
Non-football related, but I got to speak on this quickly here before we continue. Might be the first time I've ever seen this kind of out in a baseball game. This coming from Doug Rush, covers the Giants as well as covers the sports world. Randy Arozarena strikes out and loses the bat. Julio Rodriguez tried to get out of the way at third, but forgot it was a live play, and the Yankees tagged him out in the 10th. Lack of concentration is a real thing no matter what level or sport we're playing.
And that clinched your spot in the playoffs.
What about what's his name? Oh God, just had his name in my head. Try to steal home. They caught him mid. What's his name?
Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
No, they would have never. They would never catch Benny the Jet.
Never. I had his name.
How dare you slap yourself for saying something like that?
He was halfway home when he took the lead, and they got him at the plate. 25-25 steals. God,
I was halfway home when we were supposed to start the show today.
And was it Altuve? They took his shoe off yesterday.
Yeah.
No,
hey,
right there.
Congrats. No, I will say, not to get off track, but congratulations to the Yankees. You clinched your playoff spot. You're still in position to win the division. It's clear right now. It's the AL East, those two teams, and then it seems like everyone from the Central trying to get into the playoffs, and then the Astros.
Yeah, it's a mad dash.
How about the Brewers, man? They clinched too.
I'm happy for John Olsen. He's suffered a lot with those guys.
They didn't tank at the All-Star break like they used. We got to the All-Star game.
I'm happy for the Brewers. They got a good fan base. And how could you ever get mad at a mascot that jumps into a pool of beer?
Right.
All right. The Chicago Bears in a rematch of Super Bowl 41 taking on the Indianapolis Colts.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The lock. Chicago Bears at 1-1 taking on the Colts at 0-2. The Colts offense was non-existent in Green Bay last week after a strong showing in week 1, a game they probably should have won against division rival Texans. The Bears are nursing injuries in their receiving room as well as their offensive line. And, Caleb Williams, in addition to having to stay upright, he also has to make better decisions. He has shown some rookie warts in the sense of like Chris Collinsworth, a guy whose voice I can't stand, and most of the time I don't even agree with him.
Here's the guy.
He made a great point though. He said it. Those dudes at this level are not who you're playing in college. They are just as fast as you. They cut the gaps a lot better. You can't have that broken play going for 40+ yards. It's just not going to happen on a consistent basis in the NFL. I think Caleb Williams has the potential to gradually improve, but he's going to get his ass kicked quite a bit this year. And I think this is one of those games where you're getting an angry Colts team that knows that they should at least have 1 win, possibly 2. Instead, they have no wins. I think it's going to be a blowout, actually. I think the Colts are going to show some anger here. I'm going Indianapolis Colts 23, Chicago Bears 13. Chicago Bears 13, Indy by 2 scores.
Caleb Williams, to me, when CJ Stroud approached him post-game and tried to give him some words of motivation,
you saw that, right?
Words of encouragement, and how Caleb tried to brush him off, that moment told me exactly what Jalen Johnson said. An arrogant quarterback, I don't want him. And, of course, he backed off. I never liked him. And this is
he already had 1 strike because we root for the Irish.
Yeah, well, but look, Caleb Williams, to me, is a guy that was spoon-fed from the Golden Spoon growing up. Mm-hmm. And I know this because we saw it all live when USC lost to Oregon last year, how he ran into the stands. Mm-hmm. But when a player who is in his second year in the league has shown the leadership, that being CJ Stroud, he's more than won the locker room over. He has won the fan base over. He has won the NFL over to show that he belongs in the NFL. And when you're going to try to brush him off and act like you're better than him because you were no, I'm sorry, Caleb Williams. I already didn't like you, but I will say this: their offensive line needs to block because that's where it does start. But that guy is making some bad decisions.
Is he a relative of former Jazz guard Deron Williams? I'm just curious because they do look a lot alike.
They do look alike. They both
except Deron had like, he had like,
I'm gonna say no because I think Darren Williams would have smacked him around, and I think Caleb would probably be a little more man.
They do look a lot alike, and they share the last name. I am curious.
What's your score? Is that?
I'm taking the Colts. I'm taking the Colts. Look, the Colts lost a game 16-10 that they should have won. I repeat, they should have won. Packers, yes, played a great game, but Anthony Richardson did not look like the number 4 pick last week. He looked like the number 4 pick 2 weeks ago. I think this Colts team is hungry. I think they're a lot hungrier than the Bears. They need this win more than the Bears do. Give me the Colts 26-13 and get them off the shite and give them their first win of the year.
Idris, I got to ask you, in the family, is there any kind of gentleman's wager here between 2 Super Bowl champions in your family, Mr. Emery Moorhead and Mr. Aaron Moorhead? These are their 2 teams at different years, obviously. And Chicago did play Indy in that Super Bowl with the Devin Hester Super Bowl that opened up with a score. But unfortunately, they had Rex Grossman, the Daniel Jones of his generation.
Aaron's a Chicago guy.
True that.
Because Emery, he was raised in Evanston, right down the road from Chicago.
So even though he did happen to win with the Colts, you would say that your cousin Aaron would, in fan Chicago mode, would pull for the Bears. Fair enough.
Yeah, he's Chicago. Daughter is a Chicago girl. Well, wasn't born in Chicago. They're all Chicago. The whole family's from Chicago.
So, gentlemen, what I am finding right now is they are actually related, and Caleb is Darren's nephew.
Well, damn.
Dude,
I need to smack him up a little bit. Ronnie to smack him up.
Bro, I wasn't trying to troll. I literally just had a still picture. I said, Williams, Jazz. What was his first name? I said Deron. It's Darren. I said Deron at first because it's been a minute since the man played in the league. Wow, Zappy.
They do favor though.
But hold on, there's some conflicting stuff here. But that's what I'm seeing is that that they are related, but I'm seeing no. So we're gonna go with yes for now.
There's another one out there that Weird Al Yankovic is the godfather of Brett Bandick. I've heard that rumor.
I would think he's the godfather of Brett Bandick and the father of Gardner Minshew.
Hey, weatherman. Anyway,
oh Lord.
With me, I'm going to go. With me, I said about Chicago, not Chicago. I said about Caleb Williams. I didn't like him in Oklahoma. I thought he was over at USC. He couldn't beat no one big. He couldn't beat a big team. He couldn't win the game.
No.
Utah State owned him.
Oh.
And I don't think he was worthy of the number 1 pick. Nope. He's a crybaby. He has no heart. I'm not just trying to throw dirt on him, but
I didn't even like him at All-Star Weekend when Uncle Darren was doing his thing. He has no heart. No respect.
He has no heart.
No,
I think Indy's going to put it on him. I think I got Indy 27-13. I think they're going to put it on him.
Too much entitlement, man.
2 interceptions, man.
I like it, Idris. I like it a lot. I'm calling for an almost shutout. Short and sweet. I don't have a lot to offer on this one because I think it's going to be a very lopsided affair. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at minimum getting 1 pick 6 in this one. It's going to be baptism under fire for young Bo Nix in Tampa. I like the Bucs big here. I'm going to go 30-10. Denver gets a garbage touchdown late in the game. 30-10 in favor of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The reason why I say an almost shutout is because of the fact that their touchdown for Denver will be late. keys to victory if Denver has a chance to upset and keep it close. They got to get the running game going, and they have to keep the Tampa offense off the field, but I don't think they have the answers to keep that Tampa front seven off of Bo Nix and not force him into inducing poor decision-making, interceptions, things of that nature. I like Nix. I think he's going to gradually turn into a good football player, but it's a lot right now. And NFL game speed, when you're coming from where he's been from, it's not easy right away.
31-7 Tampa Bay. Bo Nix is an Oregon quarterback. Oregon quarterbacks have trouble translating to the NFL.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's doing good, decent, but
It's their run game that's doing it.
the run
It's
game.
not him.
The run
Well, you
game
know what's funny?
sucks.
Without trying, we get all the segues one after the other, and I have not attempted to put these in any order like that. All the segues.
Bo Nix, I think he'll wind up being good. I do, but I think he's gonna get his ass whooped this week.
Oh, yeah.
So Denver looked good. Yeah, they look good week one going to Seattle, losing that game 26-20. Offensively, Bo Nix looked good. Then in week two, they welcome one of the fiercest defenses in the NFL, that being Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh has only scored one touchdown in 2 weeks and are undefeated. Now you talk about a Buccaneers team who has got one of the worst defenses in the NFL, but luckily they have a very good offense, and they have Baker Mayfield, who is right there with Derek Carr and probably Sam Darnold as front runners for MVP this year. Did I just say that out loud? This feels weird. Anyways, I think Denver is actually going to come into this game and make it competitive, but Denver does not have the weapons to close the game out. I look at Tampa Bay as, you have Mike Evans, you have CJ Godwin out there. They need to get Rachaad White going. This is the game that you need to get
People
going.
are waiting for that to happen. They haven't seen it in full bloom yet.
No.
I do think their defense did a good job, all things considered, against a talented Detroit team last week.
Yeah, they did. But all in all, look, I think Denver, Denver's what they are. They're a rebuilding team. Bo Nix is their future. The 27-year starter at Auburn and Oregon. And, he's older than Chris Winkie, I think. No, he wasn't, but plays like it. I think Denver's going to come out motivated and play good because their defense has actually been keeping them in games, believe it or not. And that's the one thing we should talk about with them is their defense is still very good. I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game. I think it's going to be 27-17, late touchdown, like you said, Richie. But right now, Tampa Bay, they're rolling.
Yeah. Tampa has quietly won this division 3 consecutive years after winning their second franchise Super Bowl. Oddly enough, the year they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, they weren't the division winner. Denver, I don't see the vision with Peyton long term, but when you make the investment in Russ and then he's gone and you traded everything for Peyton, I guess you just got to be patient. That's all I could preach really there.
Yeah. They're going to thump them. They're going to thump them. 31-7.
Oh, yeah, there's a thumping going on. Last game on this show, 2 undefeated squads. Zappy just alluded to the fact that the Steelers have not been offensively gifted, but yet are still undefeated. The Los Angeles Chargers, under the direction of NCAA champion coach John Harbaugh last year with Michigan, he's bringing that attitude, that culture to this Chargers team. Because when you think about the Chargers, and Idris and I have spoken about this recently, you think about throwing the ball all over the stadium.
Yep.
You're not used to seeing this brand of Charger football, maybe not since, you got to go back to like Natron Means, because, LaDainian was more of a flashy guy. Michael Turner, even this backup flashy guy.
Yeah.
You got to go back to like Natron Means when they were playing this brand of football where they were featuring the tight end at a high level, and where you were just leaning on teams running the ball, high risk, low efficiency pass attack. And, Quentin Johnston's coming off his best game as a pro. Ladd McConkey is proving to be one of the better rookies in the early going. And it's inspirational and cool to see J.K. Dobbins with all of the injuries
He's balling.
joining his former teammate Gus Edwards. And, JK's kind of winning the carry tally right now. But it's going to even out as the course of the year goes, because I still think that the best way to keep Dobbins healthy is you got to keep him on a pitch count, so to speak. I'm actually going to go for the road team here, which might come as a surprise to some, because if this game was being played in, say, December, even November or so, I more than likely, without even thinking about it twice, would take the Steelers. But because the weather's not yet cold, and because of the fact that the Chargers offer just a little more on offense, I actually think that you're going to see the kind of game where guys like Khalil Mack, Nick's younger brother Joey, certain guys are going to get after the quarterback. I said this last year and recently. Khalil Mack is one of those dudes that people have taken for granted because his teams have been bad lately, where you forget how good he really is when he applies himself. This Charger team is learning how to win close football games. I got them winning a low-scoring affair here. I'm going 23-17 in favor of the road team. I think the Chargers are going to get a quality win in front of the Pittsburgh faithful.
I gotta say the same. Pittsburgh's not putting enough. The offense is not producing.
Yo, Nash got the same score as me.
Yeah, I'm going to go 24-17 though. I think they're going to get a lot of. I think Pittsburgh's going to get a lot of J.K. Dobbins and Gus. I do think Herbert. I'm not. Oh yeah, I think Herbert will throw some balls. I think he'll get. I think he have a good passing game, but I don't think the Chargers just going to run because you still got T.J. Watt over there. He's not going to allow but so much.
Correct.
But yeah, Pittsburgh's just not producing enough points, man. And I know it's Justin. I want to call it Justin Fields. Yeah, Justin Fields. I think he still has a ways to go to learn the offense and getting acclimated with the offense, because Russ did get most of the snaps during preseason, and I think eventually he'll come into his own. But Jim Harbaugh is Jim Harbaugh, and the brothers like to run the ball, play defense. 24-17 Chargers. Go Chargers.
2-1 turnover ratio.
Gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
Did I freeze up?
We're gonna start calling Zappy Stat Boy.
Yeah, bro. Bring it
I'm
on.
gonna keep this
trees
one.
ancestry. He's got the whole shit going over there.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to keep this one plain and simple. Look, the Chargers have defeated the Raiders and the Panthers the first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Panthers 26-3. I think if they were a much better team, they should have won by a lot more. Raiders, 22-10, that's great. I like this Steelers team. I like their defense a lot. And you saw what they did going into Atlanta, shutting down Tyler Algier and shutting down Bijan Robinson. Last week, they shut down the Broncos' rush offense to the tune of, I think, 60 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
This Steelers offense does not need to score many points. Now, what we need to see is Justin Herbert make strides offensively throwing the ball, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it against this defense this week. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game as well, but I think the Steelers offense will do enough after the domination of the Steelers defense to be able to come out on top. I'm going to give the Steelers another victory on this one. I think they're going to be 3-0 in the division. I think they're going to shut the running game down, because if there's a team that can shut the running game down, that can shut down the 7.5 yards per carry that J.K. Dobbins is having right now, or whatever it is, it's the Steelers. And I think they're going to slow the run game down, and they're going to force Justin Herbert to win it. Is Quentin Johnson going to have himself another 2-touchdown game? I don't think so. Not against this defense. I think the Steelers win 17-13. I think the Steelers have a damn good defense. Their running game is doing enough. Justin Fields is getting more and more comfortable in that offense. Once they get the passing game going for Justin, they might be one of those teams that no one's talking about come week 10, 11, that they're going to be in first place but because they're only averaging 17 points a game, it's irrelevant. But what do we always say? Defense wins championships, and this Steelers team might be one of those teams this year where they're not going to score many offensive points, but their defense is going to do enough that they're going to be going deep.
Yeah, and before I pass it over to Idris for the final thought on this game, you might not have the highest opinion of the Vegas Raiders. They're still a work in progress in their own right, but they were good enough to beat those Baltimore Ravens. Chris Dixon, where are you?
Oh man, don't look. I'm gonna flat out call him out because you know who Chris Dixon's team is playing this week.
Indeed.
Obviously we're gonna cover that game in the next episode. But I will say this because I was right there with you, Richie, that I did not think the Ravens were going to be better than a third place team in this division. I didn't think the Bengals. Well, actually, I kind of did because the Bengals tend to start 0-2.
They always do this crap
in
September. I'm not going to write them off just yet. T. Higgins is playing, by the way, this week.
But Pittsburgh has been the team that I think is what they are. And until they play an offensive juggernaut, they're going to keep winning these games. Baltimore is going to be the team that, look, what they're still looking for the identity. When your leading rusher is Lamar Jackson after the first couple of weeks and not Derrick Henry, that worries me. Chris Dixon, Richie said it. You gave him a lot of crap to the point that you started tagging your buddies that are probably Ravens fans as well. But you have been very quiet the first 2 weeks. If your team starts off 0-3, you will know my name. I will ensure that you know that the Ravens are 0-3 and that, yes, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year. Was it rightfully deserved? He showed up in Santa Clara last week and put a beat down on San Francisco. I'll give him that. But when your team constantly is the team that also chokes in the playoffs, it's just what it is. So,
and don't let the Giants win, Chris Dixon, in the event that your Ravens should lose a third consecutive game.
Look, you know who Zappy sounded like? Samuel L. Jackson in
a little bit.
You gonna know my name and my and I am the Lord.
No, because I wasn't sold on this Ravens team.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I don't.
You're right.
I'm just laughing
the way you said it. You sound like.
And then he's like, "Oh, when they beat us, we play backups." I'm like, "Dude, Pittsburgh hasn't had a quarterback since Ben.
They haven't had anything since Ben."
No,
but Mike and then I will say this: Lamar Jackson has won 2 games against the Steelers in his career. One of those games he did not start; he just happened to play had a couple of carries in that game as a quarterback running the read option.
So I don't count that. Flacco. Thank you, sir.
I don't count that as a win against the Steelers. Mike Tomlin has your number. Mike Tomlin plays well in the division.
You're going to know his name, too.
Mike Tomlin is proving once again why he is still, to this day, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and in my opinion, will once again have himself another winning season as the head coach in the NFL.
Mr. Salam, closing thought on this ball game. What are you seeing?
Damn, man. We still talking about Pittsburgh?
Absolutely. We just got derailed because I was having some fun.
Damn, man. All I can say. Well, all I can say is this: the path of the righteous man is bested on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger, who attempts to destroy my brothers. And you will know that I am Mike Zappy, and I lay my vengeance upon you.
You don't even have to pick a team after that greatness.
I changed my mind. I'm going with Pittsburgh.
You don't even know. After that, you don't even owe an explanation. We love you, Chris. We're just giving you shit. But Chris, with all due respect, my man, You did
You gotta
call me
show up,
out
homie.
and act like we don't do research around here. Like, I was a little reckless, brother. That was a
You gotta
little
show up,
reckless.
Chris. You can't disappear. You gotta show up. You 0-2, homie.
That was a little reckless. And how about my Yankees, Chris? Because I know your O's are going to be playing a little catch up. Craig Kimbrell got released. Another
He
thing.
didn't get released. He got designated for assignment.
Yeah. So what's
Meaning
the assignment? Go to
He,
the beach?
not on the playoff roster. That's the assignment.
Mm-hmm. For Mr. Zappy and for Mr. Salam, I am Idris. Jesus Christ. I am Richie. I am Idris. You just got me all twisted up with that, with reenacted Samuel L.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Dude, Zappy sound like Samuel Jackson, dude.
Dog,
you will know my name.
Dog, I just literally said, I'm like trying to do the closing credits, and I'm like, I am Idris, and he is Richard.
And I am the Lord. Lord Zappy.
Oh
done,
man.
Shouts out to
Bye.
the Basement Show with Mr. Nass.
Yeah.
Those guys do a really good job there, not just in the sports realm. They've got ladies' night. They do trivia night. Really great bunch of people there. So make sure, give those guys a watch and a follow, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, any of the social media platforms that Mr. Nass puts his stuff on. Great bunch of people over there. Shouts out Joe Gal. Shouts out the Casual Convo Show. If you haven't, definitely give that one a look. You got to see me on there a little bit, talking a little bit about the political side of things, talking a little bit about P. Diddy, and saying goodbye to some really great legends in the music and entertainment world and weighing their impact. Definitely some great stuff there. Shouts out to Richard behind the boards, Mr. Idris right here in front of me, the beautiful Miss Coco. Great show tonight, guys. Just want to tell you that here as well as on the Casual Convo Show. But those are our friends, and we try to do our best to support them because they always support us. For the boys, I am Richie, and we are out.
And know that I am the Lord.
And part two.
You will know my name.
We are out.
Part two will be out in a couple of days. Have a great night, everyone.